This next section is going to feature my troublemaking cat. Her name is October, and she is currently getting ready to climb my green screen. So if you see me call her out, well, just know it's probably coming. We're going to talk about reading data in this section. Okay, and we talked a little bit about this, right? We said there were different kinds of data, right? We said, okay, data can be numbers, can be characters, images, blah, blah, blah. Well, we're going to talk about what is numerical data, what is categorical data. And again, in general, this is true. In general, characters are categorical data, words are categorical data, and in general, numbers are usually numerical data. But it's actually not quite that simple. So we have a visualization here, a graphic showing different kinds of variables. Let's start with that. Variables are the characteristics that are going to be recorded or measured. So in our last example, where we were looking at the heights of SPSCC students, variables were what characteristic were we recording? Their height. So all variables can either be described as numerical or categorical. Okay. Now, height is going to be numerical. And usually numerical just means numbers. But I'm going to be a little bit more specific. Numbers with meaningful mathematical properties. So why do I say that? Why do I specify? What's an example of a number that's not meaningful mathematically? Phone numbers, zip codes. These are numbers, but mathematically, they don't mean anything. You can't add phone numbers together. You can't really add or subtract zip codes together. Like kind of, sort of, but not, it's not really going to be meaningful. So usually numbers are going to be numerical, but sometimes numbers could also be ordinal, categorical, or identifiers. Sometimes numbers pop up in, I'm watching you, October. I'm not watching her, but sometimes numbers can be ordinal or categorical, identifier categoricals as well. So let's kind of skip over the other ones real quick, and let's look at ordinal and identifier variables down here. Different ways of classifying categorical variables. So ordinal is going to be some kind of rating. It basically just means can be ordered. So, an example here is going to be maybe rate something from 1 to 5. That would be ordinal. So it's a number. Oh, I give it a 3. Very medium satisfied. Or a 4, very satisfied. That sort of thing. Okay. It could even be pictures, right? It could be like rating, are you a happy face? Are you a medium face? Are you a frowny face? These are all examples of ordinals. Sometimes these are numbers. The numbers don't really have a meaningful mathematical property. You can't add a rating of 5 out of 5 with a rating of 4 out of 5 and get a rating of 9 out of 5 or something. Okay, so watch out for that. And identifier variables, these can be like zip codes, or let's start with what they are and then give examples. The examples will be down here. So identifier variables are just used to identify. I don't know how to say that more eloquently. Used to identify. It could be like, we could have examples in a different color. Example, it could be like a jersey number for like sports. It could be a zip code. It could be a phone number. Could be a name. All right. And these ones are kind of these two cases are maybe the bit more confusing, a little bit more ambiguous. It's not always cut and dry what a variable might be. Okay, so I might ask you questions about, oh yeah, classify these variables. And if we disagree on something, that's something that you can kind of explain. And maybe there's two ways of looking at it. Not always. Sometimes there's multiple ways of looking at it. Okay. So in general, numbers are usually numerical, but you have to watch out for these two cases. Numbers might be. So again, these can also be numbers sometimes. Anyway, so if we have numerical data, the height of an SPSEC student, I said that was numerical data. There's two kinds of types that we're going to talk about: continuous and discrete. So think of discrete as kind of something like you can count. Okay. Distinct, if you will. Okay. Whereas continuous could be everything in between. You can think of continuous as an interval. 1, 2, and everything in between. 1.3, 1.73257. Okay, if all of those are possible, then it's continuous. Now, a lot of real things are continuous, but not everything. Discrete is going to be distinct. So it could be maybe number of TVs you own. You can't own 1.3 TVs. Okay. It could be how many siblings you have. There's a bad joke in here about half siblings, but you have 1, 2, 3, 4. You can count distinct. Okay. It could be. We could maybe split hairs a little bit. It could be your height, rounded to the nearest inch. Because it depends on how we formulate it. Height could also be a continuous numerical variable, right? Because if you think about height, it really isn't a continuum. I say I'm 6 foot tall, but I'm not exactly 6 feet tall. We all know the person that says like, oh yeah, I'm 6 feet and 0.2 inches or something, right? In reality, height is a continuum. Weight is a continuum. If we round it though, then we can approximate it with a discrete. Discrete will be distinct values, which usually is what happens. Like if we fill down a drop-down list online, just enter your height, and we can put in literally any number, then yeah, it'd be continuous. But if it's discrete, like maybe it's a drop-down menu, and we can only select a few different heights, something like that. Okay, so maybe height just in general, or height, we could say not rounded. Weight, another one is a good one. Time, a lot of times. But it really just depends on, are we looking at an interval of all possibilities or just distinct possibilities? Regular categorical is the last category that we have to talk about here. And it's kind of just the everything else. It's going to be words or descriptions. You can think about this as everything else. Okay. So maybe regular categorical could be like, I don't know, what color? Maybe it could be a color. What color are your shoes? All right. It could be, did you like Star Wars? Yes or no? Okay. So this is roughly what we're going to be talking about. This is not super exact, but it should give you a good idea of what to look for. And again, you have the textbook available to you online. Okay, so you can look for that for more advanced, more like fine-tuned details. In general, this is an introductory class. I don't want to spend 50 minutes giving really precise, long formal definitions for everything. My goal is to just get you exposed to these ideas, okay? But let's move on because we got a lot of definitions right here. Let's get some practice using them after a brief message from these two definitions. So cases are basically the people, who is basically the sample, if you will. Cases are the respondents, participants, whatever that's being asked or measured. Variables are the things that we're measuring. Okay, so this right here is kind of the who, not the band, but variables are the things, the aspects of that is a way that you can think about this. Okay, but let's go on and let's practice. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at some data and use these things. So we're going to start. What are the cases here? Oh, hold on. I'm jumping the gun a little bit. Let's explore the ideas of cases and variables with, okay, these are survey results from 10 statistics students. Okay, that tells us right there. The cases, I said, right, is the who. So the cases here, it's the sample. All right, the sample, it's the 10 statistics students. And then the variables are all the things that are getting measured. These are all of our variables. ID, gender, credit, award, siblings, TV, school rating, etc. These are the variables. Okay, so part B asks you what the variables are. Let's write them all down. Or we could take a shortcut and not write them all down. So the variables, I'm going to just point right here and say the variables. Again, right here. The variables, save ourselves a little bit of writing, as long as you know that all of these things are the variables. And then part C asks us to describe each variable as either categorical or numerical. Okay? What I'd like you to do right now, I'd like you to pause the video. Pause the video right now, look at the definitions on the last page, and give your best guess. Okay, what do you think each one of these variables are? Start with numerical or categorical. Start with big picture, numerical, categorical. And then if you really want to go a step further, you can go, is this ordinal categorical? Is this regular categorical? Give it a best shot. Even if you get it wrong, it's fine. But pause, think about it, and write down a guess. All right, hopefully you've done so. Let's go through it. So ID. ID is a number, so we might think numerical. Every time you see a number, go through this process. It's a number, it probably is numerical, but let's make sure it's not an identifier or ordinal. Well, here it's literally called ID. So here it is an identifier. This is just an anonymous way of identifying each student. Okay, so we don't have to use their private information. We're just giving each student a number that we can use to associate with them. So this is a categorical variable, and specifically, it's an identifier variable. Gender. Gender's not a number, it has to be categorical. Now, is it regular categorical, which is kind of the catch-all? Is it ordinal, which we can it's like a rating, or we can order it? No, I can't order this. Theoretically, you could do alphabetical order, but by that logic, you can order anything. So that's not really a way to count something as ordinal. Isn't it an identifier variable? You might think so. But identifier variable, this is a good distinction that we should use. Identifier variable is not related to identity. So yeah, your gender is related to your identity for most people, but that's not what identifier is going for. It's used to identify them. Okay? And here, your gender, that's not a useful way to identify someone, right? We have 10 students here. Okay? This is not going to identify them. So this is going to be regular categorical. Credits. Okay? It's a number. Does it have meaningful mathematically properties? Can you add credits together? If I have 15 credits and I add on another 3 credits, do I have 18 credits? Yeah, I do. Adding, subtracting, these all make sense to do with credits. We do them, okay? Are they discrete or continuous? We have a 5 credits, a 15 credits. Can we have literally every number in between? Can we have 7.3 credits? 7.225738 credits? No, it's discrete. These are distinct values. Integers specifically. A word, that's going to be categorical. It's words. Okay. It's going to be regular categorical. Can't really order these. Not an identifier. Siblings, we already mentioned that one, right? That's numerical. It's also discrete. TV, I don't know what this means. I don't think it means number of TVs that you own, because this person would be a bit strange. Maybe it's time you spent watching TV or something. This one's unclear. If it's hours you watch TV, rounded to the nearest hour, it'd be discrete. If it's total time watching TV, it could be continuous. I would take either here. A little ambiguous. School rating, it's a number. But a lot of times ratings are going to be ordinal, because a rating of 5 with a rating plus of 4, we can't add those together to make a rating of 9. That doesn't really work. Okay, so this is categorical data. This is going to be ordinal. And last, your pulse. And a pulse, again, it's numerical, but it depends on how we think about it. It could be discrete or continuous. A lot of continuous variables are a little ambiguous. But in general, a lot of times we really will a lot of times we do work with discrete stuff. Continuous is more of a theoretical idea. I'm not going to get into that too much, though. Discrete is the more important one to know. Some things are definitely discrete. Some continuous quantities can be thought of as either way. But yeah, that's what we got here. That's how we can classify different kinds of variables. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a good one.